Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And today we are going to bring you a not depressed show about being overwhelmed by anxiety, OCD, or depression. And we know there's a lot of you out there listening because we get comments back that are overwhelmed by it. Some of you may not even realize it is OCD things that you're doing or that you're depressed or anxious, but we're going to help make sense of it today. We're going to give you, more importantly, hope and some ideas of some things that you can do to make your life better, because Dr. Lewis is going to explain to you how it doesn't really come out of your head. So right there should give you enough hope that maybe some of this could be tied to your gut and other things you're doing. So Dr. Lewis, could you take the fear away from things like anxiety and depression? And I'll help with the OCD.
But because she certainly does not have that, wink, wink, which is what makes this work and why Green Wisdom Health is so efficient. I don't even know where to start. So where do you want me to start? Depression?
Well, actually, I think maybe anxiety, because I am OCD, so I'll categorize all this for you. OCD, although is a bad thing, it does help things be efficient, but it does get out of hand. So, yeah. But there's just a lot of people, I guess the age group of the younger generation is probably so very overwhelmed by so many things they see in the media, which they're being constantly bombarded with negative things that are in the news and things flashing up on your phone all day long. The world's going to end. I kind of get it. Back in the day that we were raised, which we won't say when that was, but it was prior to phones, we would go outside and play and get fresh air and not worry about things. We had a lot of trust and we had fun and we had friends and we interacted with people. But in today's age and time of all of this technology, the interacting with people has kind of gone astray, and now you're just watching them on a screen. So maybe you could address some of that, of being isolated, feeling alone, things that people could do to help get them out of that.
That's a good point. Thanks for getting me on the right rabbit trail, so I may not diverge off. Yeah, I will. We do hear a lot of that, especially from the younger generation, and that they're socially uncomfortable. Well, there are things you can get past that. Number one, develop friendships, and you can develop good friends, and sometimes they'll hurt your feelings, but you kind of have to flick it off like a flea and know that they're a little bit imperfect too. Let me just start by getting controversial right off the bat. Why not? The media has made us, or has led us, to think about bad things, to always be the doom and gloom that Janet talked about. So there is a scripture in Philippians. It says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent and praiseworthy, think about such things." Do we really think about the good things? We've become a nation that's focused on what's wrong, and we need to be a nation that's focusing on what's right. And that alone will help, because, and those of you, for goodness sake, get on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis, although there's been a glitch. Sorry, Sylvia. Get on Shooting Straight, because I post some pretty good stuff, and I posted a thing that said you can reprogram your DNA by speaking good things. And it's like, duh. And I found myself a couple of nights ago counseling a young man from Utah. Actually, he came from Diana, Texas. And it was amazing what just a few minutes of conversation on Spacebook made him feel. Sorry, I still call it Spacebook. It's focused. I refocused this young man, and I said some good things about him, which were all true. And then he became even more of what I declared him to be. So it can be as simple as too many heavy metals. It can be a cortisol thing. It can be a thyroid thing. It can be a liver thing. One of the biggest mistakes I've ever seen is we have a nation full of educated idiots. Oh, I didn't say idiot. We've become nation of people that get more knowledge and not know what to do with it. I think I'm incredibly knowledgeable. If you knew how many books that Janet orders for me, and yeah, I actually read them. I've got about 24 on the list, honey. I read these things, but it focuses sometimes on the problem, and I like to go to the ones that focus on the solution. And just because it's in a book doesn't necessarily mean it's true, because I read all kinds of books that were based on BS. Belief systems in error. So you kind of have to think about, it can be simple. I don't care how smart I am. I cannot fix myself. So folks, I don't care how smart you are on internet. It's better if you get an outside source, someone that's objective. It can be something as simple as B1. Fatigue and depression, very, very commonly a B1 deficiency symptom because the overgrowth of yeast from eating the processed foods. They produce something called thiaminase, and it breaks down and destroys thiamine before it ever gets a chance to be absorbed. So if you have stress, anxiety, OCD, depression, and brain fog, I put them on a fat-soluble B1, which is benfotiamine. There's evidence that getting on a Mediterranean diet, although I think all diets are good if you just get rid of the processed food. That's what most of the diet books say, just quit eating processed foods. Well, if you're eating the fruits and vegetables, they have a higher amount of vitamins and minerals and enzymes, even though the food is certainly not what it was 40, 50 years ago. So don't think you can change your diet and be complete, but you can change your diet and certainly do better, because one of the things that I've read, good research, said it could be a folate deficiency. Well, we've talked about the 5-MTH-R, 5-methyl-tetrahydrofolate reductase. Our supplements have the right kind of B6, B12, but more importantly, the folate, it has the right amount so that if you have that genetic SNP, it's going to work. And I'm famous for giving you big doses of it. People say, but you're giving me too much. Well, you're not going to absorb that much. You need a whole bunch of it just so that it will absorb. Back on thiamine, it kind of makes the blood-brain barrier more leaky, which allows the toxins to penetrate the brain. That's scary. And that's from Journal of Experimental Neurology. Yes, folks, I read the research, and I've got a pretty good memory, and I take a lot of notes. Postpartum depression due to low levels of vitamin B. That's from American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Although postpartum depression can be a omega-3 deficiency too. And omega-3s, if you're depressed or have OCD, yeah, try the omega-3s. That's an incredible thing. It has to be good ones, though. It can be allergies. There's research that says wheat can cause schizophrenia through gut irritation. Journal of Biological Psychiatry. Well, that's why they say, well, if you do this diet or that diet, they're having you give up the processed foods, which is wheat, and therefore a lot of your brain dysfunction can go away.
It is amazing when you eat incorrectly how bad you feel the next day mentally, how tired you are, how depressed you are. We do it personally just for you folks. Right. We have to try it so we know what happens. So, we're same boat. But, there are signs and symptoms that people have through anxiety that is characterized by excessive worrying and tension. And, thank goodness I'm married to Dr. Lewis, because I had this or tend to have this, and I do take supplements, things like L-theanine, which I love. It really helps with anxiety. But Dr. Lewis always told me anytime I was worrying and did that, he'd say, if you don't want the devil at your party, don't invite him. And I thought, geez, I guess I am inviting him. And so every time
I've gotten deep crap for saying that. Now she's giving me credit for it.
Yeah, well, I hear him in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, I'm not supposed to hear this. But some of the symptoms of anxiety are muscle tension, chest tightness, heart palpitations, high blood pressure, can't sleep, digestive problems, That's usually how that started for me. Panic attacks, irritability, difficulty concentrating, restlessness, sweating, anxiousness, and inability to socialize. So we're having fun with this show. I know there's a lot of people out there with a lot of anxiety and depression aren't finding anything fun. We're going to try to help liven this up.
Well, you really have to just follow directions. I've got your back. I read books. I read research, and thank God I have an incredible memory, and Janet keeps putting stuff in my drink. She experimented the other day. She
has no idea what I'm putting in his drink. But.
Yeah, she put some stuff in it, and I said, I've got a good memory, but it's getting better. What in the heck are you doing? And she just grinned like the cat eating the canary and said, well, I've added GPC, glycerophosphocholene, and that's in our stress response. I know I'm jumping the gun. This stress response is one kick, but holy cow, oh my God. Take care of stress, anxiety, depression, OCD. Janet's, you don't stand a chance against her. I promise you don't. There's a man came in, said his wife's taking care of her elderly parents, and she gave him, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 of them, and says, here, tell your wife to take one in the morning and one at lunch. And I looked at him and I said, we sell good health. Your wife's going to send you back to get this stuff. He says, yeah, I've seen Janet do that before. I said, but your wife's going to be less stressed and your life's going to be better. He says, I'm all for it.
Well, the stuff works. And, if you do have anxiety and depression, fake it till you make it. And it's like, take things that are going to make you feel better, that'll make you be more outgoing. So when you get to that job interview or interaction with someone, you've already got some good things in your system that's making you talk, and you're not knowing why, because you're not anxious anymore.
And that goes back to having good relationships, having someone that you can trust. And I've been blessed by many, 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 many good friends, and Janet is the number one best friend I've ever had. I used to say that I was a good salesman. And on live radio, she said, Dr. Lewis was not a good salesman. I was drunk when I said yes, but it doesn't matter. We have fun every day. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. Quit taking it so serious.
Which leads you to don't do alcohol for anxiety, because, see, if you do alcohol for anxiety, that don't work well for long periods of time. So you might want to try something like a natural remedy when he says I was drunk and said yes.
We really don't drink much, but I was raised Baptist, so since they told me I can, I have to talk about it. But
things with OCD, which was one of my personal favorites, because
it's not mine.
I know Dr. Lewis and I are like, I don't know, we are the complete opposite in so many ways, and then we're alike in some ways. But when it comes to OCD, that is not him. It's like he can tell you anything you want to know about anything almost, and especially health. He just has it in his head. I like to just hit him with questions and see where he goes, because he has an answer. I think it's right.
That's the new challenge now doing these podcasts, because we've kind of made a deal that she's going to try to stump me with some of the questions and doesn't necessarily let me know.
Yeah, which those are coming in a little bit. But the OCD part is like, I'm very organized. Things got to be very timely. That's why you guys get your packages from us in a very timely manner. We're rarely out of any products, because there's a lot that goes into this to keeping it on the shelves. Dr. Lewis, if you were depending on him to do that, you wouldn't see any of that. You just have a bunch of information.
I show up and shoot from the hip.
Right. So it works great. But people with high functioning anxiety, what you see in them is they're very detail oriented. They're very outgoing, they're active, they're super helpful, they're very hardworking, and they perform well under pressure, and they're very loyal. And we love those people for employees, because they are great, and we have one of those.
We have a massive amount of loyal patients, too, that just keep buying year after year after year after year, and they say, well, I thought it was old age, but that problem went away, so apparently it's not an old age issue.
But what that person with anxiety is experiencing is they're overthinking. So people that are doing this, the most time that they're overthinking is at bedtime, whenever they're ready to go to sleep. And you're thinking about all the things you should have done, could have done. Didn't matter if you did it during the day, but you're going to think about it now until you figure it out and you can't go to sleep.
Then you make a decision and think, holy cow, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done something. No. So Here's what happened one time. I took a personality test. test, and scored perfectionist. And I glowed with pride, and they looked at me and said, well, that ain't a good thing. You try to make a perfect decision, therefore you don't make a decision, and you just sit on your dead butt. You can't make a decision because it's not perfect. So we kind of reprogrammed the way I think, and I'm only perfectionist in one particular area.
And we added in a product called 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan, the 100 milligram for an adult. But what that will do, if you will take it at night about 30 minutes before you're ready for bed, it will cut those anxious thoughts off where you're not trying to assimilate what happened during the day. You just go to sleep. It is the peace of God in a bottle. For kids that take it, that are younger kids, we give it to them in a 50 milligram. It actually helps them make a whole grade point average better on their testing because they can stay more focused.
Well, it has in a lot of them, but people say, no, try that 5-HTP. So, well, try this. And sometimes they get it and it says 5-HTP, but it's not really 5-HTP. And, there's a big expose on, supplements being, kind of contaminated. It's like, well, geez, there's all kinds of nasty, not really true drugs on the market. And yes, supplements are the same way. That's why all ours come from an NSF factory, which is what the expose on TV says. You've got to get it from an NSF factory because it's independently tested. Yes, we do all that. You just got to find somebody you trust and jump on it.
Yeah, so overthinking can be fixed with something called 5-HTP. It's great stuff. The other thing they're experiencing when they have anxiety is they're very big people pleasers. They don't like making anyone's feelings hurt, so they work really hard at that. That and in between trouble saying no, I'd tell you to take the stress response because it really does help you be all right with that.
The real people love you even if you say no, thank you, that's not appropriate. They still love you.
Turns out you're not going to please people anyway. If you're looking for that one person to please, that isn't going to happen. We're in a world full of people that people are just not all going to like you. That's just the way it is. Just know that if you're doing what you're supposed to do between you and God and you're doing what you do with Him, then you're on the right track. Mm-hmm. And just let the rest of it go. Trouble saying no. I had a horrible time with trouble saying no. I always was saying yes. Dr. Lewis said, you're going to kill yourself. You can't keep doing all these things. And I was doing none of them well. He introduced me to traveling a lot. And I can say, although I am OCD down here, it's only 4 days of the week. And thank goodness I am fortunate enough that we get to travel a lot on the other 3. So the ability to know that there's something to look forward to, that you can get away.
But she used to have to plan, well, I've got to be here, I've got to drive so many miles, I've got to have a hotel room, Oh, so we got a RV. I said, we're taking off. I'm not even going to tell you what direction we're going.
And now it scares him because I make no plans. We show up, and he's like, where are we staying? Well, I don't know. You were driving, so I'm just riding along.
So fly by the seat of your pants in some areas. Now, the other areas you do have to, be precise. One of the major things I like is taurine and acetyl L-carnitine. Taurine gets the nasty stuff out of your system where you can think more correctly. Just when you make a decision, say take taurine, just take it and go. It's about momentum. If you've got a speeding freight train that's going in the wrong direction, you can't just put your arm out and stop it like Superman did. You have to stop the momentum a little bit at a time, and then you have to do the switch and go the other direction. So most people quit before their body has physiologically timed ability to change.
And then my other personal favorite, because I used to get these as well, is like panic attacks. You feel like your heart is beating out of your chest. Actually, pantothenic acid really helps that, and we have one now called Pantothenic Acid Plus. It has pantothenic acid, cordyceps, which is huge for regulating immune response, respiratory issues, and lethero, which I love as a ginseng, helps you cope, and rhodiola extract root. The combination of that has totally stopped all of the anxiety attacks. So there are natural things to take for that. I want to make sure we address a lot of these questions before the show is over. because Dr. Lewis wants to talk to you about some of these. And we are very fortunate that people are writing in and they're asking on our website at greenwisdomhealth.com.
So now she's putting me on something where it's going to be a video. And I told somebody, I said, well, I've got a beautiful face for audio. And Debbie Sue says, no, I like your face on video. Well, thank you, Debbie Sue.
Yeah, we're going to start doing Rumor Has It with Dr. Lewis as a My Story on Instagram and Facebook. So if y'all see him on there, please encourage him so he won't have anxiety about it in the future either.
And I do.
Yeah, so...
I'll have a cold beer first.
But our questions are coming in from those forums, and they're also coming in on our Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis Facebook page that he talked about. And if you want to ask them questions, you can as well, and they may be featured on one of the podcasts, and I'll try to get to as many of these as I can. We left Brian out last week. He wanted to know what your thoughts were on the Thomas DeClour's, may not be saying that right, DeClour's Clean Keto Program.
I don't know much about it specifically. He's very successful, and if I looked that good, I'd be on video with my shirt off like he is. It's probably a good thing. I have quite a bit. I've got much more experience with Drew Manning, the Fit to Fat to Fit guy. And if you really want to go keto, you call Fit to Fat to Fit and call Ashton Blanchard. That girl will rock your socks off and guide you correctly.
That's true. They have a great program. And Brian also wants to know if inversion tables help with spinal decompression. Are they worth the investment, or are they another hoax? And for people that don't know what an inversion table is, you might want to explain that. And I always said if I didn't have Dr. Lewis around, who is a wonderful chiropractor, I might have to get one of these tables. So I'm curious to see if he thinks it works.
Yeah, it's a great thing. You just kind of clamp yourself in and you estimate your height versus the weight. You can clamp your legs in, raise your arms, and it'll flip you upside down. You don't want to do that if you have the tendency towards strokes or high blood pressure, because you're going to have more blood pressure. It'll go higher in your head, so don't do it then. Yes, I think it's good. Yes, I had one. I gave it to a lady that needed it a whole lot more than I did, and yes, I miss it. Good thing.
All right. Are there Epsom salt bath benefits?
Yeah, because it's Epsom salts is a magnesium sulfate, and geez, you're not going to stump me yet. There's a lot of people saying, well, magnesium foot soak and magnesium this and magnesium that. Yes, it's a good thing. Why in the heck don't you just swallow a couple of magnesium pills? It's made to go from the inside out, not the outside in, but yes, they work. Oh, that being said, yeah, they work. That's just not the way I would take it in. It's better to put it in your mouth than try to absorb it through your skin, but it does work.
Maybe they're just looking for a way to relax in their bathtub. Okay.
Glass of wine.
All right. What is a good test to see if your arteries are full of plaque?
Go talk to your MD about a coronary calcium score. We've talked about this a couple times before. I'm proud to say that some people are taking my advice. And if you get a coronary calcium score, then I'll refer you to what you need to read. But it's a very inexpensive test, or it was when I got it. And they said I have enough plaquing in my arteries to be a toddler, so for me to quit worrying. It's a great thing.
Okay, well, then that leads me to part 2 of this question that another person asked named John, and Dr. Liz doesn't know about this question, so this is going to be fun. What causes plaque in the vascular system, and what can we do to reverse it or prevent it?
Well, you know, every doctor's got a different opinion. There's so many doctors that think cholesterol's the bad guy, and, you know, my answer to that is bull. It's not. You have to check things like fibrinogen, homocysteine, magnesium RBC, and C-reactive protein. If you want to know about plaque, it's basically you have inflammation of the endothelial system. And then because you have that and it damages the inside of these arterial walls, the body in its infinite wisdom says, hey, I've got a little hole here from the excess homocysteine or inflammation. I have to plaque it with cholesterol. Cholesterol's not the bad guy.
So are there things that you can do to help eat the plaque off of the walls?
Yeah, and I hope it works. I take quercetin bromelain. I take vitamin E. I take magnesium. God, what else am I supposed to be taking?
Vitamin K? Is that one?
Yeah, D mobilizes the calcium, and K is the one that puts it back where it's supposed to be. So, yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Thank you, John, for that question. Caitlin wants to know, what does it mean when your insulin level is low?
It can be that your pancreas is not putting out enough insulin, but most of the time it's the people that get on keto and start eating much, much more correctly, so the body doesn't need to put out any more insulin, and it's using everything that it puts out. So unless it goes to zero and the pancreas is not putting it out, don't worry about it. You're just eating out of a different trough than most Americans.
So it's good to have low insulin.
Yeah, 2 to 7, even though the range goes up to 19 or 24, depending on the lab. If it goes past 7, it's going to cause issues.
Cool. Okay, and on the sort of the same subject, Randy wants to know what type of cinnamon is best for type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
I don't even think our glucose support has cinnamon in it. Usually we use cinnamon whenever they're just trying to regulate their blood sugar some, not when they've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, I really prefer chromium or vanadium, but I think the best kind is Ceylon, Ceylon, but it's also the much more expensive, and it has more antioxidants. There's other things. It's Korenchi, cassia, and then there's Saigon cinnamon. You know what? When I did my most cinnamon was when my mama was doing cinnamon and sugar toast. So I guess that was kind of cinnamon with sugar probably wasn't a good thing.
Probably the cheap cinnamon on top of it.
I don't think that's the greatest way to deal with high insulin and blood sugar. Just the glucose support, for example, has the chromium, vanadium, alpha-lipoic acid, N-acetylcysteine, banaba extract, and gynemia. Now, gynemia is a nasty, nasty thing, and the reason I say it's nasty because I got it one time just to experiment with it, and it made my taste buds change to where I didn't like sweet stuff. So that was really a good thing, but it's like dadgummit.
Yeah, I think our blood sugar formulas that actually lower the A1C numbers if they take it and change their diet some have a combination of herbs and things. It's not just the one ingredient that seems to make it work.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
So thank you, Randy, for that question. And on the subject of anxiety, when should someone use medications from a doctor versus a holistic herbal approach? That's a really good question, Andrew. Thank you for asking that, because sometimes you do need medications.
If you have thoughts of suicide or thoughts of harming someone else, or you need to go to your MD, go to the emergency room. And we get so many people that are so anti-medical. No. The medical profession will save your butt. They're wonderful people. They do a good job. And yes, a lot of what we do can be alternative just because you get healthy, therefore bad things don't show up. But I think mostly it's complementary. You need a good medical doctor.
And some people have bipolar disorder, and they definitely need to have that monitored.
Yeah, medically, because we've treated people who say, oh, I got bipolar. Yeah, well, your wife's going to love me for 3 months, then she's going to hate my guts. Keep her on her medicine, for God's sake. Don't throw your MD out. They're good people.
Good. And then we have Julie that wants to know what helps with seasonal depression, especially with light deficiency. Winter is hard in Montana for many people, including herself, and recommendations would be greatly appreciated. And I'm glad Julie asked this question, because that's one of the products that we did not mention is the lack of vitamin D and depression.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know where you live in Montana, but let me know. Maybe we could come by. That's one of our major favorite states.
Only in the summer, though. Not in the winter, that would be tough.
Yeah. There are people that take, for example, magnesium for 2 weeks, and their depressive disorder gets much better just from magnesium. But vitamin D is the main thing. Be active. Take the things that help you detox, even if it's our simple active multi-minerals. or what are they called, active mega multi-minerals or something like that. Take the minerals because that helps you displace the bad minerals and the bad chemicals.
And actually, probiotics are another big one that we didn't talk about much that help with depression. They seem to help with everything, but they're another key player in depression, vitamin D and probiotics.
That's a good point. There was some notes that I didn't get around to. There's a book by Dr. Gershorn, Gershorn, about the GI tract being the second brain. That's a really, really good book. Then there's one called 10% Human. But for the average person, the best book on probiotics is called Skinny Gut Diet by Brenda Watson. And not that she just tries to teach you with probiotics how to get skinny, but she will talk about how important probiotics are in mental health.
Well, very good. And again, thank you so much for your questions. Please keep them coming. If you guys are wondering how to get well and you haven't done what we're known for doing here, which is the low-cost lab work, so that we're not guessing about what's going on with your health, including your vitamin D levels, your thyroid, and you're having anxiety or depression or things like that and just don't really know where to get started, liver enzymes, cortisol. That's what we do. We do very low-cost lab work. We run a minimum of 12 panels, and we do it across the United States. Get started feeling better today. Go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com, fill out the health survey, take the first step toward better health and feeling great and living the life that you are intended to be doing while you are here. And we'll be here next week with another great show. Take care.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You are only one step away from a life worth living.